chance to
Thank you.
get back and get it.
No, I just been trying to get the feel better. And then he had that little cough going around.
Thank y'all very much for being here today. In fact, come right on in, just get started. Thank y'all very much for being here today. I'll call this meeting to order at 1:05. And our first order of business, if I could have Chaplain Dan Baker to come up. Dan, if you please come up, please. And then after that, would you please join me in a pledge of allegiance. Dan, thank you.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you again for our opportunity to come together and make plans, look at issues, make resolutions, and really make a difference in our community. We have so many great people. Some of those are here today that we're going to recognize that just make such a difference in the lives of those they serve. They don't just do their job, but they reach out and connect with people as human being to human being. Let JPS Health Network always be a place that makes that sort of difference in our community. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dan, thank you again, and thank y'all very much. I have been advised that there is no one signed in wishing to address the board. So therefore, I consider item number 4, the approval of the minutes of January the 12th. I will state, I think Dr. Weber indicated there's a change that we do need to make that is provided. Tammy?
On page 3, section 8, fourth paragraph. Under Dr. Johnson's report, the difference is that it's not really a sentence, the way it all runs together. So it should read, this structure will better support alignment and quality performance metrics, and then that's a period. And the next one is interim chairs have been serving these roles for about 3 months as claim physicians are transferred into our employment model. And I recommend.
All right, with those recommended changes has been provided, is there any other discussion relative to the minutes of January the 12th? If not, I would certainly entertain a motion. That motion by Mr. Montgomery, and second by Dr. Weber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
I think I've got, normally Robert, I'm used to you going first. I noticed I've got the board comments. I just want to say a couple things real quick. And again, I have the pleasure, I'm one of 11 of this board, but I also have the pleasure as chairman to represent this board at functions. And while a lot of people were getting busy for the Super Bowl last Sunday afternoon, I just want to refer to something that I got to participate as chair of the board. I received a call, and as many of you know, that the Arlington officer, Corporal Elise Bowden, has been in the hospital, and she was going home last Sunday. And as we have done at this district many times before for our first responders, there was recognition of her going home by the Arlington Police Department, Fort Worth, and many other police departments. And again, our staff always does a tremendous job in support of that. And I did have a chance to talk to Officer Bowden. Many of you may have seen the newscast that evening after the Super Bowl, or if you maybe were tired of watching TV that time, but she made some tremendous comments about this institution, this hospital, and the people with it. I also had the opportunity last Sunday afternoon to talk to the Arlington Police Chief, and its Chief Will Johnson is Mr. Johnson's. I appreciate that. I figured you would know, but thank you very much. But Chief Will Johnson, and he made a comment that I just want to pass on. Again, it was directed to me, but it was really directed to this board and to the employees of this district. And he said, his exact quote, and I wrote it down because it's very meaningful. He said, "Charlie, please give special thanks to Mr. Early and the men and the women of JPS for providing such extraordinary care and emotional support to my officer, her family, and to my entire team who's been in and out of this hospital while their officer was here." So Robert, I pass that on to you, and I know like you with the employees, and I know the board also with me says thank you to the men and women in this room, and please pass that on downstream to the 6,500 employees we have in this district, because that's what JPS really is. So I want to pass that on, and the only thing else I had, and you know, sometimes we come and go, and you know, on a Sunday afternoon, many of you know we have our own Tarrant County Hospital District Police Department. You know, it's a group of 50 or more men and women who serve us every day. Many of you have met with Chief Dale Fisher. Chief Fisher's a 35 plus year law enforcement officer himself, who is our chief. They were there also, and so sometimes we talk about the other police departments that come and go, we forget about our own, so we want to say thank you to them also. And the only thing I have is really something that, again, members of this board, members of this hospital continue to do things throughout this community. Many of us on Saturday will be participating in a healthcare symposium get together with a bunch of other community leaders in Fort Worth. I'm happy to say that the man to my left, Mr. Robert Hurley, will be participating as one of the speakers and panelists involved in that. Again, this is a group of a lot of our own community leaders. We have one other individual currently serves on this board as our former chair. Reverend Ralph Emerson will also be participating in that this coming Saturday. So again, appreciate that and what you do for JPS. And I believe is Dawn Ziegler, she's also involved in that too. So again, thank y'all for representing us, because it's truly a summit talking about where's healthcare going, and what's going on to help in our community. So that, Mr. Early, I will pass it to you, the CEO report, and again say thank y'all very much for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things I want to update you on. The first thing I'm going to do is introduce you to the newest member of our team. This wonderful person will be heading up our academic affairs, and we took this person, and I don't know that you can honestly say we stole her from UTMB in Galveston, but it was pretty dark at night, and we put her in the car and drove her up here. So it worked out really, really well. Dr. Tricia Elliott is what we think is going to be one spectacular person for this organization. And she was the Associate Professor of Family Medicine at the University of Texas Family Medicine Department. We interviewed her, went through a pretty arduous process with her, like her very much, and she got here at the right time. She's participated in everything we've had, including on what was it, 2 days ago, where you stood in this very room for 2.5 hours and served food to about 1,700 of our employees. She did make the mention to me, do y'all do this all the time? And I don't know that it's because there's so much joy, or she was tired of standing on her feet for 2.5 hours serving food.
Or you could have been honest and said yes.
Dr. Tricia Elliott, we welcome you. If you please wave or stand, let everybody see you. A huge asset to this organization. I'm proud to be working with her and in her ranks. I think she'll do us a good service. J.R. Labby, in cooperation with our foundation, is put together a fundraiser. You all know, particularly those of you who have walked our halls and been with us, that we have an excellent harpist that comes in and plays music for our patients. Our patients really appreciate that. It is soothing and nice, and you can actually see when you monitor what happens to blood pressure and heart rate sometimes when he comes in. And it's just a wonderful program. But the ability to have that harpist here, we have to raise some private dollars to have him here. So tomorrow night, we're going to have the JPS music therapy program. It's called Rhythm and Romance. And so it's a nice function we'll have tomorrow night. We're going to have it down off of Magnolia Street. JR, the name of that place is the Marquee. The Marquee on Magnolia. It's right across from Cat City Grill. And it's a wonderful venue and a wonderful opportunity for us to come out, be together for some nice fellowship, some nice times, and contribute some money. We want you to have a good time. We want you to enjoy your evening, and we want you to make sure that your contribution is bigger than your enjoyment. So if you can come out, that will give us the ability to have the philanthropic capability to keep a wonderful musician in our halls, and everybody has appreciated him very, very much. Also want to let you know that we have been, Jamie Pillai and his team have done incredible work to rearrange this room 18 million times in the last week and a half, because we have had our series of town hall meetings in here. And we have conducted 22 town hall meetings on our main campus. Probably got, Mary Ann, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but we probably just about under 2,000 employees that we've met with in our town hall meetings. And we will now take our town hall meetings out to the community clinics. And we'll have 5 town hall meetings out in the community clinics and give everybody an idea of what we're doing there. And they're great. They're a great way to get information back. It's a great way to hear comments, both positive, things that we need for an opportunity standpoint, and they're a great luxury for us to have. And I also want to thank the staff, because we have all those, and I like having them, but staff is taking notes and writing things down and doing our follow-ups and getting answers to all those. So those are great. I remember last year when Pastor Emerson attended one of the town hall meetings, and I think they're hugely worthwhile to get dialogue from folks. We continue, just want to remind you that we continue to do our executive rounding. We do have kind of a set time on Friday, but we've extended it. We'll be extending it. Laura Burnside is now trying to figure out how we do it on the weekends and how we do it on night shifts and how we get rounding with not only our patients, but our employees. It gives us a great opportunity for your executive team to walk into a room of a patient and ask very, very candid questions about the care they receive here, the caring that they receive here, and everything from the quietness to the hallway to the punctuality of nurses and doctors. And it's hugely helpful for us. Every time we go into any of those rooms, we leave with feeling gratitude for the great people we work with, or if there's an opportunity, the ability to fix it. And it's really good. We have, and you all have been notified of this, but the JPS Excellence Awards, it's going to be February 23rd, and that's going to be that opportunity by which we get to thank some of our highest performers. But I will tell you, even our highest performers are just very similar to an example of everybody that works here. So we've selected 12 incredible people that we've seen that have gone above and beyond. We had a reception in here Friday night for the 24 nominees of that, and then we will select the top 12 coming out as well. So we're in good shape for that. Also, I wanted to tell you that we have initiated our JPS Physician Leadership Program, which is really important. We have, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Rosinia, but we have 2 of them in our audience right now in the form of Dr. Schrader and Dr. Nia Karas, who attended that. And we had a group of our physicians that we created a program with the Neely Business School at TCU on ways to be innovative, to move this healthcare system beyond where it currently is, to get the engagement of our physicians. I went over there and spent an hour and a half with that team of physicians, and they were spectacular. It's just great ideas that they have to make us better, and I couldn't be more proud of the people. Frank, how many did we have in that first cohort?
15.
15, yeah. We had 15 physician leaders in there. We will have additional cohorts and continue to go through the ranks of our physicians to get them in a leadership program. And Pastor Emerson, that's not much different what you and Mr. Petty initiated when we brought in third party to say, hey, where's the board going and what do we think from a strategic standpoint? Give us your ideas and sort of map out that plan. So we have that with our physicians, and it's really a good situation. You remember last month that Dr. Ziegler announced the Providers of the Year, and we now have those providers here with us today, and we wanted to recognize them. I want to first talk about Dr. Lonergan. If you have, that's a different look than Dr. Lonergan actually looks like. That was when Dr. Lonergan had a beard, yeah, that was not maybe what he has on now, but And neither one of those, that man laying down is not him either. That was the day Dr. Largan was a little sick, and Joel Hunt took care of him. And so we have him down there. So what we're going to do is, let me talk a little bit, and there's a chance that we're going to... What's cool about that is we just had that anticipation. It's so much more exciting when you came up on the screen. Had you just originally come up, we go, oh, that's him. But left. Dr. Largan is just a spectacular guy. He really is. If you've been around him, you leave with a higher energy level than when you came into the room. He is a gifted practitioner. He is a gifted man, and he deals with our primarily homeless population at Cypress in our clinic. You just can't get, in all honesty, a better guy. When you see doctors like him who give their efforts to heal to those who sometimes don't want to even help themselves, and the constant reach of his hand out to make people's lives better, he's a huge asset to us. So I think we have another picture of you as well. David, do we have the ability to switch? There's that man. Dr. Largan also is a dancing fool, and he was part of our talent show, and that's the kind of heart that he has. He's just a fun guy, and he cares very much about being part of this organization and helping our patients. So, Dr. Largan, thank you very much for all that you do, and thank you for your bust-a-move approach. Dr. Tim Niakaris. Dr. Niakaris is also one of our physicians, as I mentioned earlier, who's interested in being engaged in JPS, not just coming into JPS and saying, aren't you lucky that I'm here? He has an attitude of caring. He serves on committees. He is very participatory. He's been a huge help to our IT staff with some ideas that he has from a technology standpoint and how it intermeshes with the providing of care that we do for our patients. Tim Niakaris is an orthopedic physician who specializes in hands, and he is gifted. He is talented. I will tell you that I get a lot of positive comments from his patients. I know some of his patients because I round on them, and I live with one of his patients because I have a wife who thinks that part of her time when she goes horseback riding should be on the ground. And so after breaking a bone in her wrist, I had the luxury of being with Dr. Niakaris, and that's been wonderful. So the gift that he gives us, the care that he gives us has been pretty instrumental, and we appreciate it, and that was recognized by the MEC. And Dr. Tim Niakaris, we want to recognize you for all your efforts. Thank you. Tim, knowing of your personality and knowing how much you will detest this, would you please stand so people can see what you look like? Yeah, there you go. And then I want to recognize Joel Hunt. Joel is bringing a method, and I really appreciate the MEC in recognizing Joel, because as a nurse practitioner, he has made some significant changes. Joel, I don't know if that's Fast Eddie. It may not be Fast Eddie that you're on, but we've got a group of people who are homeless that Joel knew that if you went out into those streets and helped people, particularly those who do not have a home, do not have a permanent residency, and you provided health care to them where they are, under bridges. Many of you drove over the Allen Street Bridge on your way here to this meeting. There's a homeless encampment under that bridge where 15 people live in cardboard boxes. You will find Joel there. That's not a staged photo. That's Joel doing what he does every day. And what he does is make life better for those who have some challenging situations, but also from a taxpayer standpoint, we have seen the numbers in readmissions of that population reduced because of Joel Hunt's activity of meeting with them and communicating to them the importance of our clinics and trying his best to get them in, and it's been effective. Joel is an asset to this organization in many ways. So, Joel Hunt, thank you. The other thing that we have is three more pretty spectacular people. One you've already heard about, but I'm going to mention him again. It is Paul Celestin. And Paul runs our correctional health. Correctional health is its own bailiwick for challenges. You have people who are obviously not particularly pleased to be in the setting they're in the county jail, and oftentimes may see their opportunity to get out of one place and go to another place for health care. And so we have to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the patient and taking care of them in a proper way. But also, as I heard from somebody in the community when made somewhat of a derogatory comment about us taking care of, quote, prisoners. I know as you as board members and I, as the luxury of being here on the administration, nobody's really labeled when they come through our doors or when we go to them. Nobody's labeled as a prisoner or an inmate or you're this or you're that. You're just a person that we're going to administer health care to. And we do a great job in correctional health. The other thing that's really powerful is Paul and his team got zero deficiencies on the latest review of the State Jail Standards Commission, which is a darn near impossible task with Jail Standards Commission. They're hard, and you don't get anything wrong. Paul has brought new energy, new enthusiasm, and a totally new approach to the employees. If any of you want to meet some energized employees, ask Paul for a tour and a handshake with everybody down in correctional health. So Paul's going to be recognized as a healthcare hero. He's going to be recognized in the community. This award's about, how long have you been here, Paul? 5 years? I was going to say 6. It's a great award. It's just 5 years late because we've known him as a healthcare hero for the past 5 years. Paul Celestin, thank you very, very much. And then, as I mentioned, Joel Hunt. Joel is also going to be, I messed up that deal because I went out of order. But Joel, again, it's nice to know when the community sees what our folks do here at JPS, and to be recognized in the community as a healthcare hero is really powerful. And we're proud, Joel, of you in-house, but it's even more exciting when people outside of the JPS community recognize what you do and how you do it. So really pleased that you're going to be recognized as a healthcare hero as well. Thank you, Joel. And then our next healthcare hero on the left-hand side of that is Dr. George Cravens. And Dr. Cravens and his program is going to be recognized, he individually and the group, as a healthcare hero. George Cravens is a strong advocate of JPS and a strong advocate of patients. And from neurosurgery standpoint and the challenges that he deals with, that's a tough world. And George Cravens is as good as they get. I have a lot of respect for George Cravens. And so he's going to be awarded a Healthcare Hero Award as well. So good people. I know that Dr. Cravens is not here right now because Dr. Cravens has virtually no downtime. So it's a small shop doing great stuff. So I wanted to give you all those updates and let you know the incredible people that I'm lucky enough to work with, both our physicians, our nurse practitioners, and our support staff, and some of the things that's going on. And so if you all have the opportunity to be at the Excellence Awards, again, that's on February 23rd, you'll see a lot of the incredibly talented people that work at JPS. And Mr. Chairman, that is the totality of my report.
Thank you, Robert. Again, I think I speak for the entire board. Right with
Robert, the two physicians that were named first, I mean, I should be asking Dr. Ziegler, but how did they get that award? I mean, were they nominated by their peers?
Yes, we have a voting process at the end of the year, and it just happened that this year 2 were tied, dead even, and so we had to give the award to both of them.
And
And we're glad to give the award to both of them. Everything, vote that goes out to everyone, and it was a tie.
And then the other three, the business press, how? Did we nominate them or did someone?
They are nominated, and they can be nominated through a variety of forms, but most of the time, those nominations are going to come from their cohorts that work with them. And that's how that goes through that process.
The reason I ask that because I think that's even more commendable when nominations go forth from peers.
Yes, I think it's really commendable, and in Joel's case and some others, what's neat is when we nominate, but then there's more nominations from the community as well. That's an exciting thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Anything else, Rob? There being nothing else, again, what I was going to say is thank y'all very, very much, and again, we congratulate all of the staff, and congratulations on the individuals' recognition. Speaking of the medical staff, I'd like to call on Dr. Ziegler to any report or anything you may have for the medical staff. Dr. Ziegler?
We were hoping to present parts 3 and 4 of the bylaws, but there were just some minor typos that need to be corrected, and so I'll be presenting that next month. Otherwise, as regular, we are spending a lot more time, as you're all aware, the MARCA law that's in place where we have to report quality now that has to, we're reporting this year, and it will affect how much we are paid by Medicare in 2019, so we are spending time discussing that and making sure that we're doing everything that we can.
Would anybody have any questions for Dr. Ziegler? If not, thank you very much, Dr. Ziegler. Dr. Johnson, if you'd come up, the next item is obviously the claim physician group update. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. I want to just give a few updates based on some of the feedback from our last meeting. In terms of the acclaimed chairman / chief service line chief selection, that is moving along nicely. One of the items that we brought up last time was that we were awaiting the results of the Pulse survey on physician engagement and alignment. We've gotten those survey results back. The details I'm sure will be delivered up to you, but I can tell you that since 2013, there were significant improvements in both the engagement and the alignment percentile. We're still slightly below national average, we're slightly below national average in alignment and below in engagement. Alignment, as Preskine explained to us, is the leading indicator. Your physicians have to get in line before they're engaged. And to that end, I also wanted to point out that our highest performing items, where we were well above national average, were questions that related to performance of hospital administration, confidence in hospital administration's leadership, and confidence in the future of JPS's success. So I think that's very telling. Our lower performing items centered around collaboration and collegiality among physicians, and we've gone to every department. We have had, Preskine has come in and done 3 focus sessions with us, and we're going to do some action planning around those items on February 20th at the LDI. Also going forward, we have gotten key input from our stakeholders in the departments. We've assembled our physicians who will be on the selection committees, and we've had a lot of grassroots success in terms of our advertisement, both with internal candidates, some who are currently serving as interim chairs, and others from the departments who are highly qualified that also interested in the positions. And we've also, as I mentioned last time, had been contacted by and have leads on several external candidates for those positions as well. So it's all moving along according to the schedule outlined at our last meeting. In service line organization structure and for geriatrics, Dr. Weber asked for just a little additional follow-up on that. We met with the geriatric service, Department of Community Medicine leadership, a couple of weeks after we had the board meeting, and I was frankly amazed at all the infrastructure that's built and work that's being done there. They focused the presentation on their educational programs, and I can go, Scott told me I have to keep this short, so I'm just going to mention some of these things. I'll be more than happy to go into detail offline or at another meeting if you guys want, but their educational programs, including niche, gene, and help, their implementations and advanced care planning, Joint Commission disease-specific care program, inpatient consultation service, expanded to all areas on the inpatient side, including consults for osteoporosis, increasing their consults up to 75 to 125 per month with doing that. geriatric assessment pilot, their community outreach. Made just in 2016, 10 partnerships and collaborations and eight outreach events, with even more than that scheduled for 17 so far. Their home visit programs, DISRIP, and the list goes on and on. The big point there for us was to take from that, how can we as a physician group support your needs, and that really centers around starting with clinical FTE, particularly in the medical director position. I'm happy to say within a few days of that, we had an interview with an extremely dynamic and well-qualified, board-certified, fellowship-trained geriatric leader. And we are engaged with that person right now in contract negotiations and hope to have them in place soon. The last quick update I wanted to give was to address Mr. Wynn's question on prevention of physician burnout. I think this question was very pertinent. I will say to that end, the short story is through Dr. Rosinia, they're performing, the network medical staff is performing a physician wellness survey, which is being piloted in emergency medicine and family medicine, and they're also hiring a psychology fellow to implement where they go, what they find there, and an action plan. I will tell you, if I can have one more minute to talk about it, as we went through this, I looked at some of the statistics and tried to educate myself more on physician burnout, and I understand why you asked the question, Mr. Wynn. I get it better now. The scope, just some numbers for you guys to take home. 50% of medical students feel burnout. These are on actual surveys. Up to 75% of residents are burned out at some point in their residency, depending on their specialty. And 33 to 60% of practicing physicians are currently experiencing burnout. The price of burnout, decreased professionalism and quality, increased medical errors, decreased patient satisfaction. Here's where it gets interesting. Decreased patient compliance has been linked to physician burnout. That's one of those what came first, the chicken or the egg things. It's easy for a physician to say, I'm burned out because my patients I don't have control, my patients are not compliant. Yet the opposite of that is there is evidence to show that burned out physicians' patients are generally not. It's a result of the burnout. Several areas, 7 common contributing factors to burnout, and we do have, even outside of the survey and the fellow and the action planning, I have lined up specific things that we have going on to try to address some of these contributing factors. The top 7 are, one, just the nature of the profession, professions that have high responsibility with minimal control over all outcomes. For us, for that one, really we address that through engaging our physicians in our connection to purpose. Our network does a wonderful job with mission moments and other things. We're going to get our physicians involved in that, connecting them to the purpose. And the list goes on, and again, I can take these offline with any of you or give you a more detailed report at a later time. Any questions?
I will say this, Dr. Johnson, I'm a kid. You mentioned Scott gave you a certain timeline, and I know that Scott Will, our chief of staff, but you take all the time you need when you present your report. Thank you, Scott, for keeping things moving along for us. But Dr. Johnson, I also want to say thank you very much, and I'll let Mr. Wynn speak if he would like, and maybe he'd like any questions. But thank you for also coming back when this board asks questions. I appreciate the fact that you brought that back and give those information. I know a lot of times many people before us get back to us individually when we have a question. Appreciate you bringing that information back here also. Does anyone else have any other questions for Dr. Johnson? Yes, Chair.
Not for Dr. Johnson, but I just want to make a comment, and Steve Montgomery and Dr. Weber and Ralph will all relate to this because we've all been around here a long time. You know, sometimes it's difficult to measure paradigm shifts, but whenever you hear the statistics from February of 2017, when you talk about physician confidence in hospital administration versus those statistics, 9 years ago, that is a paradigm shift. That's right. It's really something I think we all appreciate Dr. Johnson bringing it up. It's something we all need to acknowledge and recognize. That's a major paradigm shift for this hospital. And Robert,
thank you. Yeah. Point well made, Trent. Thank you very much. And also, I'll ask Dr. Weber. Actually, I attended the Acclaim Executive Committee. It was the first one that Dr. Weber chaired. Since we had our January 12th board meeting, we had a Acclaim meeting on the 27th. And Chuck, is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Then again, Dr. Johnson.
Went pretty well. Went overtime.
It went overtime. I will say this, that Ralph and I have served on that committee, and now Chuck chairs that committee, and it was amazing seeing the different type of questions, with obviously having a physician and someone who's chaired quality for several times. It was great having it. It was a great interaction. Yes, it did go a little lengthy, but I think they were all good points. Again, Dr. Johnson, thank you very much for what you brought in your leadership role of that. So,
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Next item of business is the committee reports, the first being the Finance Committee. And our Finance Chair, Mr. Montgomery, is going to look to me because I had the pleasure of sitting in for him because he was out of town. The financials were made a part of your package. If there's any questions, I'll be more than glad to try to address them. I do have copies of the notes from that meeting. Obviously, our
The only
CFO.
report I heard back was that you didn't really fill my shoes all that great.
Yeah, well, I will say this, as we all know, Sharon Clark is very good with numbers, the CFO, and she gave, not only she covered November and December, which is a part of the board package. And again, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them, and Robert would likewise. But there being none, we will move along. Do we need to take a motion on that, Neil, for approval? I didn't think we did. So consent. Next would be planning. Trent?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Lowry and I had an opportunity to participate in a conference call recently with HMA to give us an update on the county planning effort relative to the facilities at JPS. And very informative. What we've decided to do is, rather than take the board's time with what really is a lot of data-intensive information at this point in time, we've asked that report be put on the portal. And so those of you that had a chance to look at it, it's in the library in your portal under the long-range planning section, and that report is in there for your information. Also, we'll report that Dr. Lowry and I will be attending the first Blue Ribbon Committee meeting on February 14th, and he told me since he's going to bring his wife for Valentine's Day present, I'm going to give Mary the opportunity to come as well because we don't want her to feel left out. But we will report back.
Be high up on
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, that's going to be real good.
We will. We'll bring back that information for you at the next meeting. So other than that, that's all we had to do. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. One thing I'll pass on to the planning committee. I just mentioned the 27th being the acclaim meeting that evening. I had the pleasure of being in Euless. We were for the final approval of the city council for our new medical home out in northeast Tarrant County, as many in this board's been involved with. I know you were, Ralph, Trent, planning, were both of y'all with planning and chairing. I think that's coming along, and we received unanimous approval that evening. I'll just say this, I had the pleasure of being there. I was there just to be there to be supportive of our staff. They didn't need to have any support because they're very good at what they do, but Angie Morgan and Diane was both there. And after the meeting, in fact, I got called out during the meeting by the mayor, who I happen to know, Mayor Linda Martin, and she said, "Charlie, are you going to say anything?" Most people know I talk too much, but I said, "No, I didn't sign in or anything." They said, "Well, do you have any comments?" So on behalf, again, as chair, I thank the city of Euless because I think the planning has gone very well, Trent, and you've been very involved in that. But really to our staff here, the mayor and the entire city council said, quote, "We want to thank the professional way that John Peter Smith and your staff has handled this entire process." That's not me, that's not Trent, that's not chairs, that's the staff that works every day here in this district for this hospital, and that's the reputation. So Trent, thank you for the leadership of planning, but again, we have been approved, and that process, Trent, I assume will continue forward now as Angie has it moving forward. So thank you very much for that one. The next item was human resources. Ms. Dorothy?
Okay, our committee met on January the 26th. We received a report on the executive compensation, and we are still moving toward our goals. In some positions, we have moved quicker than others, but it is going in the right direction. On the consent agenda, you also have the annual and long-term incentive that we will be using for this year. So I hope you spend some time looking at that. That's really critical. That's helping us move toward our compensation and everything. And we had a lengthy discussion on that. And that was about it.
Thank you, Dorothy. Any other questions for Dorothy? If not, that will be our committee reports, and we would certainly move forward to item number 10 on the agenda. there's been some discussion on this as to really what our current policy is. Some people ask that question. I've asked General Counsel. I think Mr. Adams has some information he wants to pass out. Bill, do you need to pass this?
There you go.
Take one of those. These passed out.
Get a book.
There's nothing intended about the color of it, but,
I'm glad you. You know, Mr. Adams,
if I'm going to pick it out, I get to pick out my color.
you must be psychic, because you knew with this maroon, somebody was going to raise that question,
I
but,
just raised it for somebody.
yeah. On a serious note, Neil, you may tell us
Yeah,
what
let me
we're...
lay out sort of where you, Mr. Chairman asked me if I would, this is what you were sent and was posted on the board portal as being an item that would be coming up, and the chairman asked me if I would sort of cover what do we have and where did it come from. What you have before you is a chronology. Back on September 1st, 2016, the Quality Committee approved EC 400 as it was presented. And you have, behind tab 1, you have a red line of that policy. Behind tab 2, you have a clean copy of that. And that came out of Quality as a recommendation of the board. Also at that same meeting, EC 401, the parallel procedure, was presented for review by the committee. That's behind tab 3 is a red line of that procedure, and behind tab 4 is a clean copy of that. On September 8th, the recommendation of the Quality Committee meeting on this weapons policy, it's EC 400 is Firearms Weapons Management Policy, came to the Board of Managers. There was discussion at that meeting. Chairman Emerson after that discussion, referred this to the Governance Committee. The Governance Committee reviewed the recommendation that had come out of Quality, as well as considered some other items and motions at its November 17, 2016 meeting. At that particular meeting, there was a motion to amend the policy, the policy statement. And if you'll look at tab 5, that's a red line of Mr. Norred's suggested language. Behind tab 6, of course, is a clean copy of that incorporates that language. That's before you, along with what came from Quality as the proposed policy to be considered by the board today. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about where we are right now or what you have before you that you're considering.
Does everybody understand or have any questions regarding, because there was a lot on the portal and there were some questions about red lines and which is before us, and this has been discussed and back and forth, and so I felt like there needed to be some clarification. So if there's no additional comments for General Counsel at this time, I would certainly entertain where we're going to go on item number 10.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt policy E400, firearms weapons management, be approved as recommended by the Quality Committee at its meeting on September 1st, including the amendment of the policy statement recommended by the Governance Committee at its meeting on November 17th. Assuming that the motion gets a second, I'll be happy to summarize what that motion does and based on the policy.
So we're looking at tab 2? Is that right?
Under tab.
Yes. Yes.
Tab 2 is the policy as it came out of Quality clean. Tab 6 includes the amendment in the policy statement, or incorporates the amendment that came out of governance on November the 17th.
You can see that.
I have a question, but let's start the conversation first. Was there a second?
All right, so we have a motion by Trent. We have a second by Dr. Emerson on the motion that Trent has.
And I might just summarize the motion more, and then questions I think make sense. So, number one, this will prohibit the concealed or open carry of firearms and illegal weapons on hospital premises. That's the main hospital, the patient pavilion, and Trinity Springs. Number two, it will prohibit the concealed or open carry of firearms and illegal weapons at facilities where the Board of Managers meet. 3, it will prohibit the concealed or open carry of firearms and illegal weapons at hospital district clinic facilities. in which an activity sponsored by a school or educational institution is being conducted. And finally, it will prohibit the concealed or open carry of firearms and illegal weapons at public school-based clinics, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional discussion?
Sure. I have the same
All
problem
right.
when this first came out. Number one, it doesn't prohibit anything at all. It merely makes a rule. We're not going to put metal detectors in front of the hospital anytime soon, at least I don't think so. So it doesn't prohibit anything. More than that, the policy statement seems to still be wrong. Am I getting that wrong?
Say again?
We have armed security guards, which we pay to be here, do we not? Yes?
Yes, we have a police force, Warren,
Okay,
that is
but we have
correct.
a policy statement that says the policy of the hospital district is to provide an environment to the extent permitted by applicable law, free from firearms. And it goes on, but that's not true. We hire people with guns to come here. We hire people for guns. So this policy statement is contradictory to what we actually do every day. That's why we had this original, that was the genesis of this whole discussion. That's why I suggested the policy statement be changed. So it says, to the extent permissible by applicable law and as safe as reasonably possible and free from firearms. This policy statement that I had suggested does not make a Wild West out of the hospital. It simply reflects that we do have armed guards here that we pay people to have here, and yet we have a policy statement that says we don't. That's it.
Just
But-
want to make a point, that's not true.
Okay, well,
The-
tell me
the
where
policy-
that doesn't
If you
work.
read policy 400 on page 2, under the guidelines, it
Right.
very clearly exempts those people that are licensed to carry firearms, whether they be plainclothes, peace officers. The policy takes into consideration those people being able to continue to carry weapons.
Tell me how the policy of the hospital district is to provide an environment that is to the extent permissible by applicable law, free from firearms and illegal weapons that can be prohibited on JPS property.
Backed up by the procedure on EC 401.
We don't pass
stipulate
procedures,
that.
we pass policies.
You pass yes, Mr. Ari, you pass a policy and the administration has an attendant implementing procedure which comes to you at the same time for your review.
Okay, so what we want to, we want to do is we want to have a policy statement that is supported by procedures. Okay, if I were writing a procedure, I would say we don't hire armed security guards because an armed security guard violates this policy. And it's easy.
It's not
to
a security guard. These are
Yeah, that-
duly appointed officers of the law. These are police officers,
Yeah.
just as a point of clarification.
Yeah.
Sure, but my point here is that we asked them to be here. Okay, and this doesn't say in their policy, except for police officers, right? Okay, so why would we not have a policy that reflects what we do? Again, my suggested, and I'm not married to this language, and if we're going to pass this 8-1 or whatever, that's fine too. But it seems silly to pass policies while we're talking about it that we know that our procedure is not going to follow when we can change the policy statement to reflect what we're doing. And of course, this policy prohibits nothing. People come in here every day, I bet young women come in here every day with things that are qualify as weapons, and nobody says boo to them. But if you looked like a different person, you would have a problem. So we're not even going to go there. I'm just saying, let's have a policy that reflects what we do.
Mr. Arnold, I guess my question is this. Is your concern about our Tarrant County Hospital District Police Force? Is that the only?
No. I've
Because I
given
think
I've
this-
given up on the idea of actually having a common sense policy. My question now is to simply have an ordinary statement that reflects what we do.
Yeah.
That's why all you have here is language under, again, just suggested language that says as safe as reasonably possible. It does not say that there are no firearms. It doesn't say that police officer, it says free from firearms and illegal weapons. I mean, it says that in the suggested language that I gave.
Again, I get the word firearms. I think, and again, I can't speak for this board, I'm just myself, but I think throughout my entire approach to this, I've always, I hate to use the word assumed, but I have assumed that we have, because I've met with them, I've met with the officers, I've met with Chief Fisher, I always assume personally that our Tarrant County Hospital District Police Force was like any other police force. They've got the right, because they are licensed and they are our police department, that they could be on the campus. I hear you saying, is that the issue you're having with the policy, that we have police officers with guns?
I don't want us to spend any, it's obviously going to pass. I just want to point out that we have a policy that we're not following. Our procedure is directly contradictory to a policy that we could fix right now with innocuous language so that it reflects what we're talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Norred, I respectfully disagree. The language that you suggested in the governance committee that be deleted was language that can be prohibited on JPS property or in JPS vehicles under applicable state or federal law, and that language has been deleted from this statement. I believe the policy and the procedure which is attendant with it clearly takes into account what is current law. And current law is, regardless of what you have, those licensed police officers, peace officers, have a right to be on here by statute and by other policy.
If somebody comes in with
Right.
Do we have cops that we pay to be here?
Sure.
Are all of them armed all the time?
I couldn't answer that question, but again, using Charlie's word, which is not a good word, but I would assume they are.
Okay. Is it possible that we have people in some areas of the hospital that are not armed, that are security guards, police officers? Absolutely, right?
We may. I don't have any knowledge.
Absolutely.
So,
we have people that are not armed that are in certain areas of the hospital that should not be armed, right? Okay, so they may have a right to, but we've instructed them not to, right? Yes. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, correct.
Yes, that's correct. So even though they have a right to, we instruct them. They follow, we're paying them, right? We pay these people. They follow our rules. So their rights are irrelevant. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is what we instruct our people to do. This policy says that to the extent possible, permittable by applicable law, we're going to be free from firearms. We could be a lot more free from firearms if we wanted to be, but we're choosing not to be. We're instructing people, bring in your weapons when you come to work. And in some places, we're saying, don't bring in your weapons, even if you might have a right to under certain circumstances, because that's what makes sense.
And consistent with this policy and its procedure, there will be notices that will be posted that are part of this policy that will alert the public and the staff as to what this policy is.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's have the vote.
Mr. Arad, we appreciate your discussion. Is there any other discussion on this matter? I have a motion and a second before us. Is there any additional discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, no. Thank you very much. 8-2. Thank you very much. Next item of business is the consent agenda before you, and I think we've all discussed that and looked at it and heard the committee reports, and I'd certainly entertain a motion for approval, consent agenda.
Move approval.
Motion by Reverend Emerson.
Second.
Second by Mrs. DeBost. All those in favor say aye.
I got a quick question,
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
Item M, the approval of the separation of the policies and procedures. I just want to make sure that the district policies and procedures remain unchanged, correct?
Yeah, well, it was posted to your website, was the bifurcation of what came out of the governance committee, that these list of policies are going to be district party policies going forward, and this set's going to be departmental policies going forward.
I just wanted to make sure that the district policies and procedures were still married.
That's all.
Yes.
They're married together. Yes, they are.
Okay, no objection.
Okay.
Based on motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No? Thank you very much. It's my understanding we will need to go
And I don't have anything.
to close. There's no legal report. We will need to go to closed, obviously, to deal with privileges. Joel, I know you're sneaking out the door again. Congratulations on your recognition. That goes with Paul also. I know everybody's sneaking out. We will go to closed session. And again, I will say, Dr. Elliott, welcome, and look forward to working with you as we go forward. Let's take a 5-minute recess as we then reconvene closed. It's now 2 o'clock. Thank you. Our last item will be for privileges. Do I have any discussion? If not, I entertain a motion. I have a motion by Dr. Lowry and a second by Dr. Weber. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Thank you very much. There being any other business? There being none, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.